The magical world of Alice Adventures in Wonderland will engulf you completely. You will take part in a crazy race where you'll be collecting tasty, point-scoring cookies. In the game box, you will find 24 tokens of large cookies, 20 tokens of small cookies, 44 cards, 4 small character pawns, 4 large character pawns, and game board. Assemble the large and small character pawns like this. Mount the plastic pointer on the board. Put the game board in the bottom of the box and place it in the center of the table. Take the large cookie tokens, shuffle them, and make a covered stack of them next to the board. Important, when playing with less than 4 people, discard the appropriate number of large cookie tokens. Now reveal 1 large cookie from the stack and place it nearby. Place all the small cookie tokens next to the game board near the area with their symbol. Each player chooses his character and takes a large and a small pawn of the character with his image. Now each player puts the small pawn of his character on the game board on the field Hatter's Tea Party. Each player takes 11 cards with his character's image on the reverse, shuffles them, and places them in front of him in a face-down pile. Each player then draws 3 cards for his hand and keeps them hidden from the other players. Important, players cannot swap cards held in their hands. You are ready to play. Each player plays 1 card in his turn, either the left or right card of the 3 he holds in his hand. He cannot play the middle card, it is unavailable this turn. He then moves his character pawn located on the board by as many spaces as indicated by the card he played. At the end of his turn, the player draws a new card from the top of his face-down pile of cards and places it between the 2 cards currently held in his hand. The game ends when every player has played all 11 of his character cards. The player with the most points for the collected cookie tokens wins. Only 1 pawn of any player can stand on each field on the board after the start of the game. Thus, if there is another player's pawn standing on the field where your pawn should finish its movement, you place your pawn on the next free field. Joker card. A player may go with his character's pawn any number of fields from 1 to 5. If a player's pawn stops on one of the special fields, he must perform the assigned special action for that field. Hatter's Tea Party. Whenever any player's pawn passes this field without stopping there, that player gains the currently uncovered large cookie token. He then uncovers a new large cookie token from the stack and places it next to the board. Whenever any player's pawn stands on this field, he can decide whether he wants to score an uncovered token of large cookie or take a chance and take a token from the stack of large cookies without peeking, hoping it has more points than the uncovered token. Small cookie. If a player's pawn stands on this field, that player can spin the plastic pointer in the middle of the board once. By doing so, he will get as many small cookie tokens as shown by the number with the cookie icon located in the corner of the field indicated by the pointer on the board. Caterpillar. If a player stands on this field with a small pawn of his character, he must take it off the board and put a large pawn of his character in its place. If at this point any other player had a large pawn, he must immediately replace it with a small one. There can be only 1 large pawn on the game board at a time. A player who has a large pawn on the game board can go 1 field farther each turn than the indicated number of fields on the card he played. In addition, a large pawn does not fall into the hole on the rabbit hole field if it stops on it. If a player stands on Caterpillar field with his character's large pawn, he must immediately remove it from the board and place his character's small pawn in its place. Cheshire Cat. If a player stands on this field with his pawn, he must immediately go an additional number of fields as indicated by the number on the card he played this turn. Rabbit hole. If the player stands on this field with his character's small pawn, he falls into the rabbit hole. On the next turn, to get out of the rabbit hole, the player normally plays one of the cards from his hand. But in this situation, the number on the card does not denote the number of fields the player can go with his character's pawn on the board. It denotes the number of possible turns of the pointer in the middle of the board by the player in this turn. Now the player turns the pointer, and when the field indicated by it satisfies the player, he moves his pawn clockwise to that field. All special field rules during this movement work as if the player moved his pawn as a result of playing a card, and there is a possibility to get a cookie for passing the Hatter's Tea Party field. If the pointer points to an occupied field by another player or to a rabbit hole where the player's pawn currently is, the player cannot make a move with his pawn, and must turn the pointer again if he still has the option. Otherwise, he loses his turn and remains in the rabbit hole until his next turn. Now you know how to play Alice Adventures in Wonderland. We wish you many successful games.